Obsession's the movie Fatal Attraction was for your parents, except it's for you. And it's much worse. Because this time, the monster isn't the person who showed up. The monster is the wish. 109 minutes later, I walked out thinking about every time I ever wanted someone who didn't want me back. And I mean really sat with it. That's not a horror movie doing its job. That's a horror movie doing your job. Getting inside something you thought you already processed. Okay, so let me back up a little for people who don't know the full story. We got a guy named Bear, played by Michael Johnston. Quiet, careful of people. The kind of guy who fumbles his words the second a woman looks his way. He's been in love with his co-worker Nikki probably longer than he'll admit to himself. Nikki, played by Inde Navarrette, is the life of every room she walks into. Beautiful, warm, everybody's favorite person. And Bear cannot say 3 sentences to her without tripping over his own words and feelings. So one day, Nikki tells him she's quitting the job. And then Bear panics. He goes to buy her a gift. He walks into one of those little spiritual shops. You know, crystals, incense, the whole thing. You know the spot. Hell, every neighborhood's got one. And in there, he finds something called the One Wish Willow. A novelty gift. A little stick in a box. You break it, and you make a wish. He tries to tell Nikki how he feels one more time, and he fumbles it again. And out of pure frustration, he breaks the stick, and he wishes for Nikki to love him more than anyone else in the whole world. And she does. Now here's what I want you to understand about the setup. The movie doesn't show you the wish working through some big dramatic moment. There's no lightning bolt, no music sting. Nikki just shifts, slowly. The way a person actually changes when feelings catch up to them. Except these feelings didn't catch up. They were installed. And poor old Bear doesn't even realize it at first. That's the cruel part. The first day or two he's walking around thinking he's finally got through to her. Thinking he said the right thing at the right time. I mean, he's happy. He's genuinely happy. And if you're being honest with yourself right now, we all know that feeling. That brief window where you think everything finally worked out. Before reality catches up. That window of happiness is the scariest part of the whole movie. Because you know what's coming, and he doesn't. Now here's what I want you to understand about the people in this movie. Director Curry Barker, I think this is his first feature. He doesn't make Nikki a villain. That's the trap a lesser movie falls into. She's not crazy. She's not even evil. She's literally trapped. And so is Bear. Because the wish worked exactly as stated. She loves him more than anyone in the whole world. But this love comes with no brakes, no sense of proportion, no off switch. Bear tries to get out of bed one morning. And Nikki, sweet, warm, beautiful Nikki screams, "Stay," at the top of her damn lungs at him. Long, drawn out, vicious. Until he obeys. And I'm telling you, the audience didn't know whether to scream or laugh. So we just all did both. That's the signature of a film that knows what it's doing. It makes you laugh at something that should horrify you. And then you feel bad for laughing. And then something worse happens. Inde Navarrette gives a performance that should put her on everybody's radar. Every scene she's in, she's doing something different with her face, her body, her voice. She makes Nikki feel like a person who is losing herself. Not a monster who is always there. That's a harder thing to pull off than it sounds. Now think about every time you've seen an actor play obsessed. What do they usually do? They go big, wide eyes, sudden movements, all exterior. Navarrette goes the other direction. She plays it internal and can't stop what's happening. Like Nikki has watched herself from somewhere behind her own eyes and can't stop what's happening. That choice is what makes this performance special. And Johnston holds it together as Bear. This guy who got exactly what he wanted and immediately realized he broke something that can't be unbroken. The guilt, the panic, the what did I just do? It's all in his eyes. He never overplays it. And that restraint is what sells the whole thing. Now, Ian. Honestly, this was the character I cared about the least. If you've seen enough thrillers or horror movies, it's pretty easy to tell where Ian's story is headed almost immediately. I mean, nothing about the character really surprised me. And most of his moments felt predictable from the start. I just never bought him as a good friend to Bear. The movie wants you to see him as a guy who notices something is off, but instead of being upfront and real with his friend, it constantly feels like he's leading him on and dancing around the truth. There's a scene where he straight up watches Bear lie to himself and says nothing. Not because he's scared, but because the script needed him quiet so the plot could keep moving. That's not a friend, that's a function. If you genuinely care about somebody, eventually you stop hinting and say what needs to be said. Ian never really felt like that type of friend to me. So while the character serves his purpose in the story, he was probably the least interesting and most predictable person in the entire film for me. Now Sarah, and this is where I have to be honest. Sarah had the potential to be something. You get glimpses of it. There are moments where the film hints at a fuller inner life. Her dynamic with Ian. The way she watches Bear and Nikki from the outside. The way she processes what's happening around her with this quiet, measured reaction that suggests depth. And then the script moves on. Every time Sarah was about to become a real threat in this story, the film pulled back to Bear and Nikki. And I get it. That's where the horror lives. But I walked out wishing we would have got at least another 10 minutes more of Sarah. What was left on the table was more interesting than what most movies give you. Now that's not a knock on the actress. That's a knock on the screenplay. Give that character room to breathe, and you got a stronger film. And maybe that's the larger issue. The film has 4 characters, but only has room for 2 of them to be real people. Bear and Nikki are written with blood in their veins. Ian and Sarah are written with plot in theirs. Let me tell you what this movie feels like. It starts slow, almost sweet. That first act gives you the warmth of a good ensemble drama. 4 friends who work together, hang out together, know each other's business. It's comfortable, on purpose. Then Curry Barker takes that comfort and twists it. The horror in this film isn't jump scares in dark hallways. It's watching someone who loves you become a version of love you can't live inside. It's the horror of getting what you asked for. That hits different when you've been in a situation where you wanted something so badly you didn't think about what it would actually be like to have it. We've all been there. You romanticize the outcome. You play the movie in your head hundreds of times. And in your version, it's always perfect. Real life doesn't give you the version in your head. Obsession is about that gap between what you wished for and what arrived. Now here's where I land, and I'm going to be real with you because that's what we do here. The trope is very predictable. I want to say that clearly. If you watched enough horror, you will see where this is going. The good old-fashioned cursed wish setup. The beats follow a pattern that genre fans will recognize early. There are moments in that second act where I was a few steps ahead of the film. Now that's not a deal breaker, but it is a real limitation. And if you walk in expecting to be completely blindsided by the plot mechanics, you might be disappointed. What saves it is everything around the plot. Because here's what I don't think people will fully understand until they sit with it. This movie isn't really about a cursed wish. It's about what loneliness does to people. What wanting to be loved, needed, can make you willing to do without thinking through the consequences. Bear didn't wish for a weapon, he wished for a feeling. And the film holds him accountable for that wish in ways that are generally uncomfortable. Now, that's not a jump scare. That's a mirror. And horror that holds up a mirror is the best kind. Most horror movies ask you how you're scared. Obsession asks you, have you ever done something like this? And you're sitting there in the dark trying to answer honestly. The predictable trope is the ceiling. The emotional truth is what keeps you from caring too much about the ceiling. That's not Obsession being a gimmick film. That's Obsession being a film with something to say, even when you see where it's going. What makes this land, and I want to be more specific here, is that Curry Barker shoots it like it's a real relationship. Not a horror movie pretending to be a relationship. The early scenes between Bear and Nikki feel lived in. You believe these people have some sort of a history together. You believe he's been carrying all these feelings for a long time now. And that groundwork matters. Because when the horror kicks in, you're not just scared for him, you're sad for him. Hell, both of them. That emotional investment, that's the whole game in horror. Without it, scary sequences are just sequences. And Barker earns every uncomfortable moment because he earned your feelings first. He took the time to do that. So Obsession's going to hit theaters real soon here, May 15th. And I'm telling you, you need to go see this one in the theater with an audience. I'm 100% serious. You need to have the communal experience with this film, watching it with other people and hearing their reaction and feeling the air in the room shift. That's part of this experience. Remember, Barker done all the work to make you feel it before he made you fear it. Predictable plot mechanics and all, this film earns your time, and it earns your discomfort, and it earns the conversation you're going to have afterwards. This is by no means a stream at home or rent from home type of movie. This is a full-fledged theater situation, so check it out. So go buy your ticket and take somebody. And then sit in the parking lot afterwards and sit there and talk about it for 45 minutes. And this movie definitely deserves its flowers. So go ahead, drop it in the comments. You ever made a wish about a person that you immediately regretted? We've all been there at one point or another. Hell, some of us have been twice, 3 times. So I want to hear yours. I'm Troy Hill, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.